you. Aditya Pratap, does this make way for fugitives like Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi to take a similar plea in future?
See, first and foremost, to begin with, the Supreme Court has clearly held that this case will not serve a precedent. Now, in principle, I do not agree with the stand adopted by Mr. Agarwal and the reasoning given by him. However, when we take a larger view, Supreme Court is faced with the dilemma of recovering money out of the cold. We are dealing with a case of a fugitive economic offender who has literally fled India and gone to a place like Nigeria. So Supreme Court is also seeing it from the pace that we have to literally recover the money out of the cold. Now, if you look at the settlements which have happened in NCLT, look at the steep haircuts which banks have taken, 80%, 90%, almost the entire amount has vanished. So if the Supreme Court is of the opinion that the settlement amount offered is at least a decent consideration, something which is recoverable, then probably, in principle, I would agree with the wisdom of the Supreme Court, because if you look at the history of these, because see, this is a case of a willful default. The case of the Sandesara Brothers is of people who have vanished with public depositors' money, and I say the accountability acts should not only be on the Sandesara Brothers, but also on the officials of the public banks who allowed such loans to happen in the first place. Now, so what happens is, Supreme Court, because the Sandesara Brothers apparently have filed a petition, and you know, like in law, because in law, whenever financial disputes happen, we lawyers do tend to take a slightly pragmatic stance, because lawyers as such are not recovery agents. Now, obviously, like ultimately the banks can invoke the recovery proceedings, but when you look at the other proceedings where 90% haircuts are taken, probably the Supreme Court is of the opinion that a certain fair amount of, not fair, but at least a certain respectable amount can be recovered by way of this. Because remember, we are dealing with a case of an offender who has literally funneled the case into offshore jurisdictions, from where tracking and getting bank account holders' money back probably might involve exponential difficulties. And of course, right. So on these points, okay. Yeah, so which is why, even though probably I do agree that they need to be punished. In fact, not just them, I believe that the corrupt bank officials who facilitated such loans ought to be punished.
Aditya, just stay with us. My final question to Vijay Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal, what I'd like to understand from you, you've represented Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi in the past. Even though the Supreme Court has said that this is not a precedent, but considering the government has made a plea and made a proposal in a sealed cover, would you somehow try and take the same recourse to end the criminal cases against them?
I don't think my clients whom you referred, my current clients or ex-clients whom you referred, after so many years of litigation, they are left with that kind of a money. And my colleague said that if the whole money is being recovered, it can be settled. So in a way, he is agreeing that if the whole money is getting recovered, it should be settled so that the banks ultimately get the public money. So what is the interest in just prosecuting them? And tell me, in which cases? Now we are saying, though, the case is over. What has happened in Nirav Modi case? The case has not even started. What has happened in Mehul Choksi case? Case has not even started. What has happened in Vijay Mallya case? Case has not even started. So you want to keep the case hanging in your drawing room, and you say that, okay, now we have a painting on the wall which is useless. So it will keep it is in a photo frame. But ultimately nothing happens. So I said it is a welcome chat. If the banks are getting money, there I am agreeing that the bank should not be taking a haircut or a smaller haircut. So if the banks are getting their total money, public money is coming, you do not have the infrastructure and the courts enough to try a person. Trial takes ages. In a 2G trial took 7 years, where I represented. A day-to-day trial, it took 7 years. So where is the trial? In Mumbai, trial doesn't even
Vijay
start.
Agarwal, Aditya Pratap, I've completely run out of time, but thank you very much for joining us on this program. But clearly, this will be a legal debate going forward. I'd like to shift focus to India's new